Good evening, everyone. I'm from stall number E83, Pen Prince Publication, 49th International Kolkata Book Fair. And this Sunday, we have book launch, a book discussion, and we have our esteemed author with us, none other than Shangjukta Dasgupta ma'am, with the Dinosaur Granny story poems, which we are going to launch and we are going to have a discussion. We have our moderators with us, we have our guests with us. All the readers were standing so eagerly, going through the smell of books, enjoying books on a warm Sunday evening. Please pardon me for my voice because I'm suffering from a sore throat, but I'm so happy that we all have our guests today who love books, who are waiting to hear something about the dinosaur granny story poems, rhymes and poems, and now something about story poems. So I will now invite and hand over the microphone to Shutanuka Ghoshrai, who will carry it on from here. Over to you, Shutanuka Di.
Thank you, Sritanni. A very warm afternoon and welcome to this session. It's welcome to Pen Prince. And here we are with the book launch of none other than Professor Shangjukta Dashgupta's Dinosaur Granny Story Poems, uh, SDG ma'am, or whom we fondly call Shangjukta Di, our Shangjukta Di, my Shangjukta Di. And this is a book which I'm pretty sure is going to, take away our sleep, because story poems usually, lulls us to sleep. And this is the book that I'm holding. It's an honor to hold this book in my hands. And, we have with us here an esteemed panel. We have uh, poet Shekhar Banerjee with us. We have poet Gopal Lahiri with us. We have poet Navamalati Di with us. And the star of the afternoon, of the evening, of the era, Professor Shangjukta Dashgupta. And, as I hold this book, it somehow um I am transported back to my childhood. I remember Thakumar Jhuli of Dakshinaranjan Mitra Majumdar. And, but here we find Thakumar Jhuli, Dinosaur Granny story poems. But here the granny is sitting not with a Jhuli, but with a laptop. So this is something, I mean, the cover itself, weaves a wonderful story. And these are story poems. Now, Shangjukta Di, who is Dinosaur Granny? Tell me first. I mean, we would all love to hear this. Who is Dinosaur Granny? And why do you think the child loves her so much?
Thank you, Shutanuka, for that. Thank you, Shutanuka, for that very generous introduction. Thank you, Pen Prince, Chupriyo, and Sritani, for seeing some sense in the manuscript. When I sent it to them, I was a little hesitant whether they would accept it or whether they would stop talking to me forever. But I found that they really recognized the fact that I'm trying to venture into an area which is new for me, because I have not written any particular book for children, though there are certain poems that I had written which I had included in my earlier published books of poetry. But this is my first venture where my target readership are mostly children, or those of us who remain young at heart despite chronology. So, and Granny as such, Dinosaur Granny, this is an introduction to a field of children's literature to which I was introduced through my own granddaughter, because I had been staying with her for the past 3 years, about spending about 2.5 to 3 months. And then I noticed that children are being exposed to these prehistoric creatures as if they are their friends. And there are toys, there are books, there are infinite numbers of water bottles and even school bags where the dinosaur becomes such an important active participant in the lives of children. So for me, it was a revelation because I consider myself to be a dinosaur, but my interpretation has been that of the prehistoric dinosaur, which is all about fossils. And the word dinosaur, when it was first coined, means really the terrible lizard. And that's the last creature that I admire. Yes. So to even consider a granny to be a dinosaur has been difficult initially for me. But then when I notice the dynamism of the dinosaur, which speaks and moves around in infinite number of homes in the children that I met from various parts of the world, then I thought that maybe I should really be able to identify with this resurrected creature and reinvented creature also, in terms of trying to be a more dynamic dinosaur rather than a fossil dinosaur. And that is how my interest in writing these poems grew. And unless I had really immersed myself in the world of children through my reading of children's literature, through the books that I found in my granddaughter's shelves, I don't think I would have been able to write this book. And I would also not be absolutely honest by saying I have been reading the books. I have been watching the screen also. I have watched infinite number of Peppa Pig. I have watched Harry Potter. I have watched Barbie dolls moving around like anything, and Elsa the Frozen. So all these have been playing a huge, they have created a huge impact on my mind. And all the Snow Whites and the Cinderellas and the Sleeping Beauties have been replaced by these new um, identities in the world of children. And so I thought maybe I can also contribute here by uh, the- uh, probably sharing with children my own memories of my own childhood and then bringing it forward to the contemporary times.
That's wonderful. So, dynamic dinosaur. This is a new coinage. And what makes a grandparent special in your life as a writer?
I think the close association of grandchildren with grandparents opens up new worlds, especially, those of us who are in academia. For us, we are being led into a world we have left behind for a very, very long time. And suddenly we just jump back to that era, which is even before the ones which we were familiar with, because we were trying to at least discipline our own children by asking them to read certain books. But these were a revelation for me. It was like reading new literature because I had not read them before. And therefore, it was a reliving, reinventing, and a relearning for me.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, many poems in this collection talk about animals and birds. You have integrated everyday images with nature. How do you think a child can learn from all these small moments and these images of life?
You know, I feel urbanization in terms of a city like Kolkata, where you hardly notice birds or trees or even the sky, is has not been part of my own childhood. I grew up in Domdom, where there were immense expanses of what we knew not as parks but as fields. There were canals and small water bodies. There were trees everywhere and
Trees
strange,
full of sparrows.
yeah, trees full of sparrows and also the horrid crows. And so all that has been part of my growing up. And when I went and stayed with my grandchild in a very natural environment because their home is very close to the Thames River,
In Richmond.
yeah, in Reading. So there too, the trees everywhere, the rippling river Thames, walking up and down the bridge, looking at all those very trees of the temperate climate. You know, all those were very attractive to me. And my granddaughter, who I used to accompany on her way to school and also get her back, those were the times when we were collecting leaves from various trees. And that was fascinating. And she was initially not very interested because she thought that she would be dirtying her fingers and hands, and her mother would scold her and she would scream her top off, "Don't touch another leaf, Tummy." But I really made her get interested. Then we bought a scrapbook,
Yeah.
and all that, you know, I don't know how much she learned. I learned a lot. And this learning is what I try to share in my own poetry, in the story poems, because I'm also associating recollection and memory with the contemporary experiences together. I've tried to fuse the two together, going back in time to my own experiences with frogs, mosquitoes, and owls, and even a mongoose, which is a beti. Yes. So all that experiences, and also associating with this environment where the children hardly see any animals unless they are going to a particularly protected area, like a zoo or an open air place where animals are kept for children to pat within safe barriers. So I've tried to fuse everything together. I don't know how successful I've been there. It is readers who will decide on whether I've been able to carry it forward.
I'm pretty sure that the readers are, going to devour these poems like anything, like jalebis or rasgullas, because uh, that is how, and they are going to learn a lot from these poems. Um, and as I was going through the book, I have seen that the book mixes real life with imagination. Would you kindly read one poem where something ordinary becomes magical? Please do.
All
It's a
right.
request.
Let me. Ordinary becomes magical.
Yes.
All right. This is a direct experience from which I wrote this. Of course, uh, this is on page 39 of my book. This is called The White Owl. All right. The White Owl. That evening, after running after running around the fields, hurling stones in the pond, I rushed back home as it was dark. I saw my mom and my uncle staring up towards the ceiling. Lo and behold, what was that sitting coolly on the blade of our ceiling fan? It's a white barn owl, my mother said. It's a holy bird, mascot of goddess Lakshmi. You are not supposed to disturb it. Why are you making faces at it? Look, it's cocking its head and looking at you. My uncle said, it's laughing at you, I think. I did not like the joke at all. My mother opened the windows of the room. She opened the front door. We sat away in the open hallway. No shooing it off. It's an emissary of Goddess Lakshmi. There we sat for what seemed hours. My dad came back from his tennis club. He said, we can't sit in the hallway all night. He took hold of the long cobweb cleaning stick. The serious looking white owl, speckled with brown, looked at the stick as it was raised. It spread its large white and brown speckled wings, flew over our heads, flew around the room, flew out in the hallway, and dived out into the dark winter night through the open front door. I never saw the white barn owl again, but I remember it off and on as I look at my 5 woodcut owls, a family of 5 on the cabinet, as they look at me in the same way through the years. So
So
that, thank you,
wonderful,
thank you.
so wonderful, wonderful. You know, uh, and in this collection, some poems are happy and some are sad. While you wrote, did the poems make you feel joyous, curious, thoughtful, or emotional?
As you know, the poet Shelley, about whom we read, he wrote a line which all of us memorized and also wrote out in our answer scripts. Our sweetest songs are those that tell of saddest thought. I think emotion is not recollected in tranquility, but emotion is a shot in the arm for any creative writer. And it is this shot in the arm which generates our responses. And one is really surprised when the poem or the prose piece is born on the page. And sometimes you read it and wonder, have I really written it? Because the you of the text and the you as a person are very different. And it is so fascinating sometimes, and I have often, I am very skeptical whether I'm writing those poems at all. Yes.
Yes.
So yes, I think it's a mix of emotions and feelings, and also my ideas, my ideology, all of them are fused together in what is born on the screen page.
Well, which of these multiple Samyuktas is addressing us right now?
I really don't know. That's the complexity of it all. Oh, there, I think we have to think of surges in Arms and the Man. He said 20 surges is popping out all the time. Yeah, we have multiple identities. I think a monolithic identity would not be very exciting for any of us.
Amit is standing in one of your essays. I remember you have written the same thing. Okay, while I was reviewing it, a portrait, you have written that I don't know whether which Amit is writing. So,
Yeah.
maybe,
I think
you know,
all of us
all
have
of
done
us,
that
yes,
in your
Gopal.
own writing also.
Yes. Now, this dynamic dinosaur granny talks about books, play, and screens. What do you think is better for children? Playing outside, reading books, or using devices? And why?
I do not believe in selecting just one of what you mentioned. I think all have a role to play in the growing up of a child in 21st century digital global world. And there is no way in which you can say that a child must only stick to the printed page. And why the printed page at all? What about the PDF? It's also about reading the book. Yes. And then copy pasting from the PDF is much easier than typing in from a printed book. So those are the advantages that we have to recognize in terms of technology's tremendous support to life right now in the millennial era. However, an overwhelming attention to technology, however, if it takes away the reading habit, whether it is in the PDF, whether it is from the iPad or Kindle, or even at reading from Google, then of course it becomes a problem. If you stop reading and keep on watching, that is to keep on watching pictures. This is what I have repeated in the class also. I don't know whether you were particularly present in that class. I keep on saying, with this advancement of technology, if reading habits are suffering, then we are really going back from the cyberspace to the cave space, because the cave space began without the word and with paintings and rock sculptures, and slowly as the word got invented, then we started using words. And in the 21st century, if we are absolutely fixated with pictures, and words do not create any pictures anymore in our minds unless there is a bubble, and we call it the graphic novel, yes, then of course it becomes a very, very big challenge for everybody. And at least those of us who grew up in the 20th century, and in the 21st century, we are really appreciating what technology has done to us, and what technology has resulted also in this book by that brilliant techno entrepreneur. Then of course we must also understand that he is generating new interest in the books by creating books which look like this. Yes. And so, yeah, this is my response, that all devices and all printed material should enjoy equal attention, should enjoy equal attention from children, and for that their parents and their schools themselves are going to be responsible to generate this sort of interest.
It's wonderful to listen to you, Shanjukta Di. Now, several poems in this collection are about freedom and growing up. What did freedom mean to you as a child?
As a child, I think I grew up in a very, very liberated environment, because my
Both your parents are
parents,
academics,
yeah,
yes.
both were academics, and there was no enforcement of any conservative practices which were followed by grandparents and even people before that, and there was no emphasis on being ritualistic about any sort of lifestyle practices. So it was very, very easy for me to feel absolutely free. I was schooled in a uh, Catholic, Roman Catholic school, a missionary school. And of course, I was walking in and out of the chapel all the time, because the nuns felt that I was a devil in disguise, and I had to go and pray to Jesus so that I could be purified by Jesus Christ, and all that, there was never any enforcement ever that, well, your God is a Hindu God and Jesus is something that you learn about in school. Those were not those barriers and borders and territories which were part of my growing up. I grew up very seamlessly, which is why when with my own grandmother I went to the Dokkineshwar and to the Kali temple, I returned with an image of Jesus. So my mother was scandalized. And my grandmother didn't even know what I had picked up, because she was so happy having visited uh, the Dokkineshwar temple. So, yes, this extremely liberated environment, intellectual environment, cultural environment, not to the extent of doing LSD and drugs, but there I think my parents would have put their foot down, and then we couldn't even have afforded them. I hear they are very expensive. So I was saved from that.
So nice to, hear about your childhood days. And one last question. If you could ask Dinosaur Granny one question, what would it be? And what story would you like to tell her to tell you?
I think I will just read a very brief poem. which probably is what um,
Granny's,
this. Have you? Did you identify any?
Granny's letter.
That's a long one. No?
Okay, that's enough.
কোথায়?
Granny's letter তো আমার মনে আছে। Is it Granny Granny 133 or
Okay,
134?
just okay. I'll.
133.
Can I read
Oh,
too?
freedom. Yes,
Okay.
yes, why not? Why
All right.
please
Let me read
do,
the.
please do, yeah.
Oh,
Yes, এটা ওই মস্কিটোটা?
all right. Now this one is a favorite poem of mine, but this is from my book "Oh Freedom," which was published by Sahitya Academy about 6 months back, and but it has a little girl. That's why I want to read it. Yeah. So this is "Oh Freedom." I met a little girl on the by lane, crying bitterly. I asked her, "What's the matter? Have you lost something?" She raised her large eyes. "Yes, yes, I've lost everything," she lisped between loud sobs. "Everything? Where?" I asked in a daze. "Everywhere," was her strange answer. "What have you lost, my little sad child?" "Freedom," she said, breaking into tears yet again. So that's the poem.
And which one did you want to read? Granny Granny or Granny's letter? Anyone. It's 134, 133. Anyone.
Which pen from Granny?
And 139.
133 or 133.
Read the title
Granny.
poem.
Is it you are tummy, not Granny. You are my
না
friend.
ইয়া অন্যটা বেটার বেটার
আচ্ছা।
অন্যটা কি
Granny's letter. 134.
134.
Hmm.
Shutanuka knows my book better than I do. But this is rather long, Shutanuka. It will go on forever now. আচ্ছা
ভালো।
আচ্ছা কোনটা
এটা Granny Granny
গ্র্যানিটা পড়ছে এটা ছোট ছোট
ছোট।
Okay, so Granny. So you are Tommy, not Granny. You're my friend. I love you. I miss you. I want to be here. Why did they bring me here? My parents are so weird. It's okay that Thames is a pretty river, but here it is cold. I only shiver. Tummy, tummy, I will come to see you soon. We will play with dolls. We will play with balls. We will watch Little Women and little men too. Tummy, tummy, why do you love books so much? Do you love Peppa Pig and Moana as much as I do? This is mine. Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
this is yours. Now, to each of you, Navamalati, you are, please, whatever either you read a poem or ask a question to Shamdukta, whatever.
Before you put that mic on, what I'm noticing is that now students are setting comprehension pieces for us between poems and stuff that we write. And then they are also setting questions for us to answer built on our own creative pieces. To বেশি হচ্ছে।
শেখার পর mosquito. Fond of mosquito.
Yeah.
Actually, what a beautiful book this is, and I must congratulate you on this. And when a very distinguished professor, academic, and author comes forward for the millennials, this is the end result, the beautiful result. Mosquito. I never had a pet mosquito. All mosquitoes had one thing. In their violent minds, bite and drink blood. We name them mosquitoes, but they are really blood-sucking vampires in disguise. In the fields and parks, as we chatted in the early evening, after games were over, clouds of mosquitoes would spiral over our heads. We all can remember that. If we ran, the mosquitoes rest after us, as if our heads were mosquito hives. But that's not all. A single mosquito bite can keep you in bed for weeks. With fever, aches, and pains, malaria, dengue, and chikungunya, a deadly trial that could even kill. A mosquito with its injection needle looks like a blood curdling bandit. You can find them in homes, schools, parks, and halls. The best shield is to wear a zipped mosquito net like a spacesuit, but it could be suffocating, alas. While sleeping under a mosquito net at night, you can hear the blood-addicted mosquito singing its terrible hunting song as it looks for a hole in the mosquito net. We all know that.
Yes.
It waits like a hyena for a sleepy arm to touch the net, and voila, they were bitten with a stinging bitterness for no fault of yours.
Such a wonderful poem.
It's at the same time educative and for the many layers. And what I mean to say is that this is not from dinosaur granny. This is very much a very contemporary granny. Thank you for this book.
Thank you.
I'm good.
I'll read the last poem. Writing a story poem. During the summer holidays at the summer camp, the boys and girls wrote story poems. Their teacher told them, write about something you may have seen or felt. Remember, it should be like a poem, but it should read like a story, written like a poem. The children were confused. Mimi wrote about her doggy, Rahul wrote about his toy cars, Tania wrote about a pudding her mother made, Zoran wrote about a unicorn, Trisha wrote about a talking tree that tried to soothe a weeping willow. All the story poems won 2 candies each, but Trisha got an extra one. This made the others turn green with envy, till the classroom looked like a garden of sour green grapes. That was wonderful.
So wonderful. Prabhupada, please do read it. Poem.
And we must thank Jenkins
Yes.
for
Yeah.
bringing
A
out
big,
this book.
yes.
Yeah.
A big thanks
Supriyo.
to Supriyo.
Supriyo.
A big thanks.
Huge thanks to you for bringing out this book.
And the illustrations.
Illustration and art.
Brilliant illustrations.
Brilliant.
Big hand.
আর আর ছবিগুলো কি
দারুণ।
হয়েছিল?
ভীষণ সুন্দর।
But then the point is, if you want to thank him deservedly, you'll have to keep doing it all the year round, and even then that won't be enough.
Well said.
Teenage. At 13 in school, my little friend, your grandma, found a new herself. She was charmed by her own smile. She longed for a wristwatch on her dainty slim wrist. She looked so stunning in her mom's sunglasses that she cried till she got one of her own. Then came a classmate fluttering her eyelashes. Mascara, of course. Your grandma cried again, and a mascara tablet with brush sat on the small family dressing table. 13 plus was about clothes and shoes, boyfriends on cycles following, our rickshaw chariots to and from school. Your granny was terrified and happy. To be noticed made her blush. Perhaps for the first time in her life, but that story I'll tell you when you are 18 plus.
Wow. Wonderful. Amita, do you read it?
I'm just going to read these poems. I'll read any poem.
Yes, yes. Any poem, okay.
Close your eyes. Close your eyes. Open the book.
Yeah, I open like that.
Poem
one.
is read.
শুধু দেখে নে বেশি লম্বা
No,
নেই।
each and every poem is beautiful.
Yes.
That I know without reading them.
অমিত কোথায় গেল? অমিত নেই,
So,
চলে গেছে?
না না এখানে ছিল
অমিতকে
তো।
একটা পড়তে হবে।
নিশ্চয়।
অমিত তো ডিসকভার মাই পোয়েট্রি, মনে আছে রিদম ডিভাইন?
Amit, Amit. Next is your turn. Yeah, you can consider.
Shall I read The Poor Little Girl?
ও হ্যালো, হ্যাঁ
The Poor Little Girl?
হ্যাঁ, লম্বা না তো?
খুব একটা লম্বা না।
বেশি লম্বা না?
বেশি লম্বা?
না জানি না।
No,
না না পড়ো
Okay.
পড়ো পড়ো চল। আর বেশি
Okay, The Poor Little Girl.
এবারে দাঁড়াই, তুমি এখানে বসো, আমি এটাতে।
আমার কোমরে বেল্ট আছে, আপনি দাঁড়িয়ে আছেন ঠিক আছে। বসে পড়ো ওটা মুশকিল।
Tell me a story when you were 9 years old, like me, said Granny's best friend. I'll tell you about the poor little girl today, said Granny. One Sunday afternoon, when a grand lunch that included mutton curry and fried rice, followed by mishti doi as dessert, I was peering from a first floor balcony when I spotted a thin, dark girl wearing a very worn and dirty frock standing in front of the main gate and looking at me. Please give me a few coins, she pleaded. In a soft and tired voice, she seemed around 7 or 8 years old. I ran down the stairs, opened the gate, asked her to sit on the landing. I rushed up, and from the kitchen, I brought her a plate full of fried rice, a few mutton pieces in gravy, and some doi. As she ate very, very slowly, those same lunch items that I had relished and gobbled with gusto only a while ago, I felt disappointed that she did not seem to like the green peas, fried rice, mutton curry, and doi at all. In fact, she carefully picked out all the green peas from the rice before she began eating. As she ate, I rushed upstairs again to get a frock for her. I picked my last year's birthday dress. I had worn it many times. As she finished eating and washed her hands in our garden tap, I gave her the frock. She took my last year's birthday frock, looked at me in a half smiling, confused way, walked out of the open gate. I never saw her again. After she left, I realized I haven't even asked her what her name was. I feel guilty about it even today.
Very good.
Amit,
This is another type of one. Yeah, that's why I choose this.
No, this is a real life experience.
আমি পড়েছি।
Okay.
Last poem.
As the bird. So the poem that I am going to read is As the Bird Flies. Like I bought the book a couple of
You were
days
the
ago.
first buyer, I think.
Yeah. So for my nephew, and that as we haven't started reading it yet because he insists that I should read those story poems to him, and I'm insisting that he should read them to me.
Okay.
So we are like stuck at
That
that.
is the first test. That means.
Yeah. So as the bird flies, not all birds fly, not all birds sing. All birds are not bards, but there nest a bird within. I can hear its wings fluttering wildly against the spiked walls. The ornate cage sways and dangles restlessly as the wings bear, beating wings, fearful eyes curled back. Yet the bird within longs to be outdoors, out of bounds. The bird within sees the blue sky, fears the
monsoon music. Hears the monsoon music. Then one day the bird within just dies. The within is without the bird. Did anyone notice a bird step unheard? Listen, a cage door jangles, a bird voice chirps within again.
এটা একটু বড় বাচ্চাদের জন্য।
So, with Amit's reading, we come to a closure, and I thank and congratulate Shangjukta Di for this, for gifting us this. And though, I am old enough, but still I feel that I am again a 10-year-old with this Dinosaur Granny story poems. And though I am not going to dance and laugh like a 10-year-old, and I would like to thank each of one of you, Shekhar Da, Gopal Da, Navamaloti Di, Amita Di, sir is also here, and Amit, for their wonderful rendition of these wonderful poems. And with this great expectations that this book is going to rock. Thank you all.
থ্যাংক ইউ